This is the Volkswagen ID Buggy, an electric beach buggy. Let's go. Looking at the beach buggy here in the front is very interesting because in the past year we've seen so much angular design. This is now a round shape, really a reminiscence of the old Beetle. LED headlamps, those is the LED daytime running light and pure LED main headlamp unit right there. There's also an underfloor cover right there, 24 centimeters or 9.5 inch is the ground clearance between the axles. So this is indeed off-road capable. But you can see, well, there's no front grille. Because it's all electric, it doesn't need so much cooling, just a little bit. And that's basically also a quotation of the past, because the original Beetle had the engine in the rear and also did not need a front grille. That's why. Today, of course, because the electric motors and the battery also needs to be cooled, but not in a way as to combustion engines. So you don't need this huge front grille right there and can play a little bit more with design. For example, also with the illuminated Volkswagen logo right there. We'll also talk to the designer very soon about the idea behind this vehicle. 4 meters 06, 13.3 or 160 inches is the length of this concept vehicle. It is so far a concept, but what I heard behind the stages is that it is really realistic that they will build this vehicle here. And the reason for that is more the technology background. This one is also based on the MEB, the modular electric building platform, which will be used for like 10 million electric vehicles in this first generation. So really significant, but they also want to show that they can build small numbers with the platform and then maybe adapt it. We'll soon also talk about the chief head of development about that. 18-inch wheels, you can see here with off-road tires, and then really find this interesting, this sensual form, round shapes, and also a very simplistic design language in this matte green color. Very interesting. Also with a big wheel arch right there. This one is it's basically a targa top which protects the passengers when rolling over. And as a sunshade, you can also put a fabric cover over here, maybe if it's a very, very sunny day. Well, and it's an all-electric vehicle, about 200 horsepower. It will feature a 62 kilowatt-hour battery, supposed to have a range of 250 kilometers or 155 miles. And well, it is rear-wheel driven, so that promises also a lot of driving fun. Theoretically, it can also be all-wheel drive, then with 2 electric motors, one at the rear, one at the front. You don't need any mechanical connection to have an all-wheel drive. It's all done electronically then. And the acceleration figure just for this one here would be 7.2 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. And the reason is, well, the battery is heavy, yes, but it has instant torque, and so you get the power all the way. And you also have a lower center of gravity, so that's also good for road cars, for example. So very interesting that they show the flexibility as for the technology background, but what we can see is also the flexibility in the new design language. Due to this round forms here and also playing around with the lights, the car seems to be a little bit more alive than usually, and I think that's also, the whole purpose behind this also more sensual design. We can also see those towing hooks here. We found them in the front and also in the rear. So if that car gets stuck at some point, well, if you also put an all-wheel drive in it, probably not that often, but I could really very well imagine, going to some dunes with that one. We also see the contrasting lower skid plate here and the ID Buggy badge. And I really wonder, recently we've heard, everything has to be more economic, and the manufacturers are rather reducing the amount of models in their whole range. However, with this new platform, maybe that can change again. Maybe we will see an electric Scirocco again, for example, too. Maybe some, sporty fun cars. This definitely shows that there still can be, some emotional fun cars, even if you're thinking about a new scalable product architecture for the electric vehicles. On the interior, you see a sustainable fabric surface here for the seat, but interesting is it's also durable, and all the materials here are basically water repellent, so they're washable for the outside use. And of course, if you're in a hot summertime at the beach, you won't sweat that much here on the fabric seat. Also, you know, this new living room design inspired with gray fabrics, like we also see with some Scandinavian design, and again a very simplistic form language. Also with some green accentuations here at the seat belts. And also the front here, we've seen it also with other ID concept vehicles. The steering wheel with the illuminated logo also kept pretty simplistic, not too many buttons, just for volume and maybe changing the music track. On the right side you will then be able to set the gear. This is really concentrating then on the pure driving. Maybe a head-up display or something could be working out. And also if you take a look at the lower area there, find some speakers, and also, well, those aluminum pedals is quite funny because they make the impression of, you know, like pause and play, like with a video game. And now let's get inside. Well, there's no door, so you can slide yourself in here. Maybe also like using techniques like you get in a McLaren or so, because, you know, you have this very thick door sill right there. Well, plenty much of headroom left here, so open space. This is really cool. So especially because you have such an open area right there, this would be you know, good free air experience. Well, the seats are actually quite comfortable. Well, looking to the front here, well, maybe I'm a little bit too tall for that vehicle. This way would be more comfortable, but definitely very interesting how that will look like when, you know, like sand is all around me. I can always wave here at the side. Of course, a great thing to experience, especially with two people, because that's how it's supposed to be. But they're also thinking about putting 2 more seats in the rear, maybe as a 4-person vehicle. You might also know the Citroën e-Mehari, which also has a similar concept as a beach buggy, probably just driven, you know, in the south of France. Also looking forward, if this one here, when it's really being sold, will it be open like this, or will they maybe make it all convertible, or maybe even with a hardtop? So now to our conclusion for today here with the ID Buggy. I think it's very interesting really with those 2 factors. First of all, the design language, which is more sensual, more round shape, more emotional in a way, and the car feels a little bit more alive than it does when it just has, you know, those angular shapes. And then also on the technology side, using the MEB platform, both for the high scalable models, like, you know, mass production, but then also for, you know, individual productions. Maybe they're doing that themselves, but also then offering them to third-party manufacturers. Well, what is the big manufacturer they're talking about? It is Ford, because Ford is seriously considering working together with Volkswagen in that respect. They don't have so much from the electric mobility going on yet, so they could probably get the platform for also their mass production. But then again, also maybe smaller companies doing some individual, very fun cars, and then just getting the platform and putting some of their work on it. Pretty interesting. What do you think?